The crystal chandelier cast cold light across the mahogany table when Cassandra Hartwell's voice sliced through the tension. "You know finance? Leave. Now!" 20 executives in $1,000 suits froze mid-breath, watching the man in the faded blue uniform who'd just stopped mopping to correct their $3.2 billion mistake. Raymond Cole's knuckles whitened around the mop handle, but his eyes, steady, unflinching, held something these Wall Street predators had traded away long ago, the quiet certainty of a man who'd already lost everything that mattered. "Column G, row 47, he said, his voice low enough to make them lean in. "Amortization schedule's off 18 months. Your leverage ratios are bleeding red, but nobody's looking." The CFO's hand trembled as he pulled up the spreadsheet. Every number Raymond called was perfect. Impossibly, devastatingly perfect. But the real shock pulsing through that sterile room wasn't that a janitor understood high finance. It was the story buried in those calloused hands and what his next words would cost the Ice Queen who'd just tried to erase him. The penthouse windows framed Manhattan like a kingdom at Cassandra Hartwell's feet. 39 floors above Central Park, city lights flickered in darkness, beautiful and untouchable. She stood there most nights around 2 a.m., whiskey in hand, staring at a view that cost $7 million and delivered zero peace. Behind her, the penthouse stretched in shadows. Marble floors heated to 72 degrees felt cold beneath bare feet. Italian furniture arranged for guests who never came. Leather never sat on. Glass coffee table holding only a remote for a television she couldn't remember turning on. Her phone lay dark beside empty takeout containers. 217 contacts. CEOs, board members, investors, lawyers. She could call any at 2 a.m. with a crisis, and they'd answer immediately. She couldn't call one just to talk. The dining table mocked her, set for 12 by a decorator 2 years ago, crystal and china never used. The guest bedroom had never seen a guest. This wasn't a home. It was a museum dedicated to success that felt increasingly hollow. The king-sized bed dominated her bedroom, Egyptian cotton sheets with absurd thread count. She slept on one side always, covers barely disturbed, as if even unconscious she was afraid to take up space. The other side remained pristine, monument to isolation. On her nightstand sat the only personal photograph. Cassandra at 27, laughing, arms around Kyle Brennan and Jenny Rodriguez. 3 people ready to conquer the world. That was 12 years ago, before Kyle and Jenny forged her signature and stole her company, before the lawsuit and the lesson carved into bone. Trust equals weakness. She'd rebuilt. Hartwell Industries dominated tech consulting, worth $2.8 billion and going public. She'd crushed competitors, outmaneuvered investors, earned a reputation that made executives nervous. The Ice Queen of Wall Street. She'd stopped correcting the press around Article 50. Fear was more useful than affection. She pressed her forehead against cold glass. When had she last laughed genuinely? Touched someone beyond professional handshakes? Felt anything except tired? Her reflection stared back, expensive loungewear and eyes decades older than 39. She raised her glass to the ghost. "Cheers, you won." But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like drowning in expensive silence. The alarm pierced darkness at 5:30. Already awake, mind cycling through the day's agenda. IPO presentation 3 weeks out. Everything flawless. Perfect financials, perfect pitch, perfect execution. $3.2 billion. Her name everywhere. Victory complete, public, hollow. She showered at 103 degrees, selected charcoal Armani, pulled hair into severe ponytail. Armor. The woman in mirror looked nothing like that laughing girl from 12 years ago. Good. That girl trusted people. The Mercedes waited at 6:15. "Morning, Ms. Hartwell," her driver said. Same greeting for 3 years. She nodded without eye contact. 3 years, and she'd never asked his name. That scared her more than it should. Hartwell Industries occupied floors 23 through 27, glass and steel and aggressive modernity. Monica appeared with coffee before she'd set down her bag. "Morning. Executive Team 7, Underwriters 9 and 11, Board at 2. Preston wants 15 minutes on diversity initiative." Preston Vale. Co-founder, closest thing to a friend. Invested when no one else would after Kyle. Built this beside her without stealing credit. Married, 2 kids, leaves at 6 p.m., takes vacations. She respected him even if she couldn't understand it. "Tell Preston lunch. Push board to 3. Need more time with financials." Monica vanished. Cassandra opened the IPO model, architecture of numbers representing 8 months and 12 years of rebuilding. This language she spoke fluently. Numbers didn't lie, didn't betray, didn't forge signatures. Executive team meetings started 7 exactly. 8 brilliant people, none friends, department updates, resource arguments, timeline review. Cassandra watched for inconsistencies revealing hidden problems. "Financial model is locked," James Whitmore announced. Rail-thin CFO, mid-50s, sustained by coffee and Tums. "Legal reviewed it, underwriters reviewed it, auditors blessed it. We're ready." Cassandra studied the screen. Something felt wrong. Couldn't articulate what, but her gut screamed they'd missed something. Instinct that kept her alive 12 years. "Walk me through cash flow projections again." James exhaled, barely audible frustration. "Revenue growth 18% annually, client retention 92%, market expansion into government. Operating expenses 12%, improving margins 5-year window. CapEx front-loaded years 1-2, declining 3-5. Free cash flow positive year 2, accelerating." Something was wrong. She felt it like pressure before storms. Working capital assumption? Standard industry ratios. Depreciation schedule? Straight line. 7 years equipment, 3 years software, standard GAAP. Numbers looked right. James was thorough, paranoid about accuracy. But that gut feeling wouldn't quiet. "Run sensitivity analysis again. Client retention down 5%. James's jaw tightened. "We've run that scenario 4 times. Model holds." Her voice dropped to that final register. "Then a 5th won't hurt." Room went silent. Nobody argued twice. The day ground through meetings and multiplying emails. 1:15, Preston knocked once and entered, jeans and button down. "You look exhausted." "I look like someone 3 weeks from 3.2 billion that defines everything we built." "You look like you haven't slept in a month. When did you last take a real day off?" She glanced at calendar. "After IPO." "You said that about the merger. And the expansion before. There's always another mountain, Cass. That's what ambitious people do. We climb. Ambitious people remember they're human." His voice gentle, worse than shouting. "Sarah and I are having people over Saturday. Dinner, wine, conversation beyond Ebiat Dia. Come." "I have work." "You always have work. That's the problem." She met his eyes that knew the Ice Queen, the CEO, the woman rebuilt from betrayal. Not the woman at Windows at 2 a.m. wondering what the point was. Your friends don't want Saturday ruined by someone who only talks business. They'd like you if you let them see who you are. People don't like me, Preston. They respect me, fear me, want to work with me. But like? I made peace with that. Silence heavy. You know what Kyle and Jenny really took? Not the company. You rebuilt that bigger. They took your ability to believe people can be good. That trust isn't always betrayal. Words landed like blows. They taught me trust is liability. The sooner you learn that, the faster you rise. How far have you risen, really? He stood, walked to window. You're ringing the opening bell. Fortune cover. You built something extraordinary. And you're the loneliest person I know. Monica appeared. Board assembled Conference A. James says something urgent with the model. He sounds worried. Cassandra stood, grateful for escape. Preston watched her gather materials. Invitation stands. Saturday, 6 p.m. Come be human one evening. Both knew that was a lie. Conference room A designed to intimidate. 30-foot ceilings, table for 24, wall of screens. Board members assembled, 9 men, 2 women. Collective 18 billion net worth. Invested when she was risky, now cashing out at massive multiples. 3 more weeks of loyalty. James stood looking pale. We have a significant problem, he said instantly. Catastrophic. He pulled up the model. Running your sensitivity analysis, something wasn't reconciling. Went back through assumptions line by line. He zoomed in. Working capital calculation. Used standard formula. Change in current assets minus current liabilities. Problem is accumulated depreciation. Contra asset account. Reduces fixed assets. Affects working capital. But I treated it like normal liability. Skewed entire projection. He pulled up corrections. Free cash flow overstated 18%. Don't turn positive year 2. It's year 3. 5-year cumulative off almost 200 million. Absolute silence. Blood turned ice water. How did this survive 3 reviews? It's subtle. Formulas look correct on surface. Need to understand depreciation versus amortization accounting to catch it. He looked sick. I caught it now. Can fix before investors. But if we'd gone to market with materially incorrect numbers, didn't finish. Everyone understood. SEC would destroy them. She'd face criminal fraud charges, everything obliterated, 12 years reduced to nothing. Again. How long to fix? Deadly calm. 48 hours minimum rebuild and stress test. Another day legal review. Push investor roadshow back week, possibly 2. Board erupted. Cassandra raised one hand. Immediate silence. James, your team works through the night. Corrected model Thursday 8 a.m. Bulletproof. Preston, coordinate with underwriters. Manage narrative. No leaks. Everyone else, not one word leaves this room. Market gets hint we found error, they'll assume 10 times worse. Fix quietly, fix right, move forward. Clear? Solemn nods. She dismissed them, remained at window watching sunset paint Manhattan. $200 million. If James hadn't caught this, if she hadn't pushed for one more analysis, they'd have walked into biggest fraud case in years, days from annihilating herself. Preston appeared. Should shut down tonight. Rest. Come back fresh. I'm reviewing every line myself. You're not superhuman. In this business, superhuman is minimum requirement for survival. He sighed. I'll order food. Long night ahead. By 11 p.m., Conference A was war room. Pizza boxes stacked, coffee cups multiplying, James and 3 analysts working through every cell while Cassandra watched with hawk intensity. Numbers blurring, but she forced focus, checking formulas, assumptions, calculations holding her future. The door opened. Someone from night cleaning pushed cart in. Raymond Cole moved with quiet efficiency from years being professionally invisible. Maybe 42, looked younger despite grey threading dark hair, faded blue uniform. Practiced, unobtrusive, emptying trash, wiping surfaces. Sorry, he said quietly when James glanced up. Didn't realize anyone working this late. Can come back. No, fine, James said without really looking. Work around us. Raymond nodded, continued emptying recycling. Cassandra turned back to screens, maze of numbers holding her life. James walking analyst through depreciation schedule. Model spread across 3 monitors, too complex to view entirely. Raymond slowed, passing behind James, eyes flicking to screens. Then stopped. Just a second. Cassandra caught it. He stared at main monitor showing cash flow, brow furrowing. Opened mouth as if to speak. Caught himself, returned to wiping. Something you want to say? Cassandra's voice cut through the room. Everyone looked up. Raymond straightened, realizing he'd been noticed. No, ma'am. Just doing my job. But he'd hesitated. She'd seen it. 12 years of survival by trusting instincts about when people hid something. You were looking at the screens. I apologize. Wasn't trying to... You stopped. Saw cash flow projections. Stopped and looked. Why? Raymond's hands tightened on cloth. Room completely silent. Shouldn't have looked at your work. Inappropriate. Answer the question. He met her eyes, something shifting in expression. The cash flow projection. There's an error in the working capital calculation. James let out a sharp, disbelieving laugh. We've been working on this 5 hours. Column G, row 47. Raymond continued, voice gaining confidence. Amortization schedule. Off by 18 months. You're treating accumulated depreciation like current liability, but it's contra-asset account. Doesn't reduce liabilities, reduces assets. Working capital calculation is wrong, free cash flow timing overstated. The room went airless. James's face transformed from condescending to white as he pulled up that cell, ran calculation, realized Raymond was completely correct. Same error Cassandra sensed, same mistake James spent 5 hours fixing. This janitor spotted it in 30 seconds. Cassandra's voice emerged, ice over steel. You know finance? Raymond's jaw tightened. I know enough. Enough to correct multi-billion-dollar model at a glance. Who are you? Someone who mops floors, ma'am. The dismissal, quiet dignity refusing to be impressed by her title, ignited something in her chest. I asked a question, and I answered. Not truthfully. Raymond picked up supplies. Apologize for interruption. Won't happen again. He turned toward door. Cassandra felt the moment slipping. Control was everything. Stop. Raymond paused. You don't walk into my company, correct my CFO, then leave without explanation. Security can detain you until you answer. Or save us time and talk. Your choice. Raymond's shoulders rose and fell. Deep breath. Turned around. My name is Raymond Cole. Used to work in finance. Long time ago. Now I clean buildings. That's the whole story. That's not even the beginning. Cassandra pulled out phone. Monica, need background check immediately. Raymond Cole, everything. 1 hour. Not necessary, Raymond said. Oh, very necessary. She ended call. You can leave, but I'll know everything by morning anyway. Something flashed in his eyes. Then you don't need me here. He walked out, cart rattling down the hallway. Room stayed silent. What just happened? James asked. I don't know, Cassandra said. But I'm going to find out. Preston was smiling. What? Nothing. Just interesting. You looked more alive those 5 minutes than in months. She wanted to argue, but words stuck. He was right. Phone buzzed 53 minutes later. Monica's email, single attachment. Cassandra opened background report, and with every line, world felt less solid. Raymond Cole, 42, Economics, Columbia, MBA, Wharton. Goldman Sachs, 25, Managing Director, 32, youngest in firm history. risk management, corporate restructuring. 2008, financial crisis saved Sherman Brothers Bank, front page Wall Street Journal. Industry legend. Then nothing. 8 years, nothing. Vanished completely. Current employment, facility services contractor, nights, 3 midtown buildings. Janitor, cleaning crew, night porter. Fall from managing director to night janitor nearly vertical. Personal information. Marital status, widowed. Wife, Helen Cole, deceased 8 years ago. Glioblastoma. 1 dependent, daughter Zoe Cole, 14, public school. Queen's Academic Scholarship. Current residence, 1-bedroom Astoria, 900 square feet, rent stabilized. Managing director at Goldman Living. Rent stabilized apartment, Queens, mopping floors. Gap in employment started exactly when wife died. Not coincidence. Cassandra dug deeper. 3 a.m. to piece story together. 8 years ago, Helen diagnosed glioblastoma stage 4. Terminal. Medical bills catastrophic. Raymond approached by CEO, Kyle Brennan, same Kyle who later betrayed Cassandra. Opportunity. Insider trading scheme. Raymond's role simple. Advance warning, major bank restructuring. Profit 50 million plus. His cut 10 million. Enough for every experimental treatment anywhere. He refused. Recording of conversation from later SEC investigation into Kyle. Raymond's voice on tape. I won't do it. Don't care what it costs me. I won't. Kyle destroyed him for it. Whisper campaigns, questions about judgment, doors closing. 6 months, Raymond couldn't get hired any major financial institution. Word spread. Not team player. Couldn't be trusted to do what was necessary. Helen died 2 years later. Standard treatment, standard care, standard outcome. Raymond there every moment, every chemo session, every radiation appointment, every night hospice. Sold apartment, burned savings, maxed credit cards. When it ended, left with teenage daughter and reputation making him unemployable. So he took whatever jobs he could. Cleaning buildings nights while Zoe slept at neighbors. Records showed Zoe full scholarship, honor roll, prestigious coding program. Cassandra closed laptop as sun painted sky orange and pink. Raymond Cole turned down 50 million to stay honest. Sacrificed everything to maintain integrity. Paid for that choice every day since. Tonight walked into boardroom, casually saved Cassandra from mistake that would have destroyed everything. Not for money or recognition. Just because he saw error and couldn't not correct it. Must be pathological, this compulsion toward honesty. She picked up phone, called Monica. Need Raymond Cole's contact information. Set up meeting today. It's 5:30 in morning. Then he'll be finishing shift soon. Find him before he leaves building. Pause. You're serious? Find him now. Phone buzzed. Monica. Found him. Basement break room. Says 15 minutes before next building. Cassandra grabbed jacket, headed for elevators. Basement was space she'd never visited. Fluorescent lights harsh, walls industrial gray, floor plain concrete. Where building kept machinery making everything above run smoothly while remaining invisible. Raymond sat at plastic table with vending machine coffee, still in blue uniform. Looked up when she entered. Expression didn't change. Like he'd expected this. Ms. Hartwell. Mr. Cole. She sat across without asking. I know who you are. What you were. Then you know I'm nobody you need waste time on. Sip of coffee. Whatever you're offering, answer is no. You don't know what I'm offering. Doesn't matter. Left that world. Not going back. Cassandra studied him in harsh lighting. Looked older, more tired. but somehow more real than anyone she'd talked to in months. You walked away from millions to stay honest. Wife died. Lost everything. Now you clean floors in my building. Jaw tightened visibly. Is there question, or you just summarizing my failures? Trying to understand why. Why didn't you take money? Could have saved her. Maybe. Probably not. Glioblastoma doesn't care how much money you throw at it. Set cup down carefully, hands perfectly steady. But even if money could have saved her, I still wouldn't have taken it. Helen married man with integrity. If I'd traded that away for chance to keep her alive, she'd have spent whatever time left with stranger. That's not choice. That's just another kind of death. Words struck Cassandra somewhere deep. She thought about Kyle and Jenny, betrayal that forged her into ice, built empire on ashes. But what had she actually created? Company, yes, but also prison. Error you caught tonight would have destroyed us, would have gone to market with fraudulent projections. SEC would have eviscerated us. I know. So you saved my company. Why? He shrugged. Saw mistake. Corrected it. That's all. Could have walked away. Let us hang ourselves. Deserving it doesn't mean I should let it happen. Raymond crushed paper cup. Stood. Look, Miss Hartwell, don't know what you want from me, but can't give it. Have daughter who needs me home mornings. Have bills to pay and life that doesn't include boardrooms or billion-dollar deals anymore. Made my choice 8 years ago. Living with it. You should let me do that in peace. Moved toward door. Cassandra should have let him go. But she didn't. 3 weeks. Need 3 weeks of your time. Help us fix financial model completely. Make sure no other errors. Review assumptions. Stress test scenarios. 3 weeks, then you never see us again. Raymond looked at her like she'd suggested he'd jump off building. No. I'll pay you. $50,000 for 3 weeks consulting. No. 100,000. No. Voice absolutely firm. Don't want your money. Want to go home to my daughter. Your daughter on scholarship. In that gifted coding program. What does she want to be? Eyes flashed. Don't. Just asking. Does she want to work in tech? Build something meaningful? Kids like that, brilliant kids with big dreams, need to believe working hard matters. That talent and integrity can actually win sometimes. What do you think it teaches her, watching you mop floors rest of your life? Low blow, and she knew it. Raymond's face went hard. Teaches her that her father keeps promises and pays bills and will always be there. That's not nothing. It's not, Cassandra agreed quietly. But what if you could teach her something else too? Show her you didn't fail. That you made choice, right choice, and you're still same brilliant person. Just needed right opportunity to prove it again. Don't need to prove anything. Maybe not to anyone else. What about to her? What about to yourself? That landed. Shoulders stiffened. Crack in armor. 3 weeks. No publicity, no press, nothing official. You consult privately. We fix model. We launch IPO successfully. You get paid well. Your daughter sees you doing what you're actually brilliant at. Then it's over. Raymond quiet, long time. Basement hummed with pipes and distant machinery. Finally spoke, voice carrying weight. I don't want your money. Cassandra blinked. Everyone wants money? Not everyone. He met her eyes directly. I'll do it. 3 weeks, but not for payment. Do it to prove something to my daughter. Show her that her father didn't waste education and career for nothing. That I can still do work I was trained to do. One condition. Nobody knows. Don't want press, attention, anyone outside immediate team knowing who I am or what I did before. Far as world's concerned, I'm still just janitor. Agreed? Insane. Turning down 100,000 for nothing but pride and lesson for teenage daughter. but something in his face stopped her. Agreed. Nobody knows. They shook hands. Grip firm, palms slightly roughened from work. Then he picked up cart, walked out, wheels rattling until sound faded. Cassandra stood alone, wondering what she'd just set in motion. Preston waiting in her office, feet up on desk. Tell me you didn't just hire Janitor to fix our IPO. Hired former managing director from Goldman Sachs who happens to currently work as janitor. Significant difference. Is there? You just made decision based on pure instinct, completely unlike you. He was grinning. It's good, impulsive and risky and totally unlike Ice Queen. I like it. Don't call me that. You're not everyone. Preston's expression turned serious. Why him? Really? We could hire blue-chip consulting firm. Why gamble on someone whose career ended 8 years ago? Because he gave up $50 million to stay honest, she thought. Because he chose integrity over wife's life. And I need to understand how someone makes that choice. Because I'm exhausted being surrounded by people who'd sell me out for a fraction of that, and need to know if people like him actually exist. But she didn't say those things. Because he spotted fatal error in 30 seconds, our entire team missed for 5 hours. That's the kind of mind we need. Preston didn't believe her, but had grace to let it go. Just be careful. Man with nothing left to lose is either most dangerous person in room or most valuable. Won't know which until way too late. Good thing I'm not afraid of danger. No, Preston said quietly. You're afraid of trust. That's completely different and infinitely more dangerous. First day working with Raymond was awkward. Cassandra set up small conference room on 24th floor where they could work without attention. It set up workstation, signed hasty NDA. Raymond read carefully. He arrived 8 p.m. after regular shift ended other buildings. Still in blue uniform, brought backpack that looked like it had seen better days, and thermos of coffee. Where should I set up? Anywhere. This space is yours for 3 weeks. Raymond chose spot at end of table. Pulled out laptop at least 5 years old. Booted slowly. He waited without impatience. And something about that made Cassandra aware how often she snapped at people for being too slow. Walk me through model. Every assumption, every calculation. Need to see how you built it. So she did. 2 hours, Cassandra explained IPO model line by line. Raymond listened without interrupting. Took notes on paper with pen that looked years old. Asked questions cutting to core. Why that growth rate? What's driving margin expansion? How confident in client retention numbers? Around 10 p.m., James brought rest of finance team. 3 analysts, trying hard not to stare at Janitor somehow running their meeting. Raymond was methodical, went through each section, identified risks they hadn't considered, pointed out places where assumptions were too conservative or too aggressive. Revenue growth, projecting 18% annually, but also planning expand into government contracts, which typically have longer sales cycles and lower margins. Modeled that separately. James frowned. Factored in some delay, but factor in more. Government sales can take 18 to 24 months. Counting on that revenue to hit year 2, you'll miss by at least 6 months. He pulled up different sheet. And here, customer acquisition costs. Assuming they decline over time as brand becomes stronger. Logical, but not accounting for increased competition. As you become more successful, bigger players enter your space. That drives costs up, not down. Need scenario stress testing that. One analyst spoke up, Kerry, with company 2 years. With respect, that's pretty pessimistic. We have strong IP protection and first mover advantage. Not being pessimistic, Raymond said evenly. Being realistic. First mover advantage erodes fast in tech consulting. IP protection only matters if willing to litigate, which costs money and attention. Scenario I'm describing isn't worst case, more like base case if things go normally wrong. Kerry looked at Cassandra, expecting her to defend existing model. Instead, Cassandra nodded. He's right. Build out scenario. They worked until 2 a.m., Raymond tireless, moving from section to section, finding weak spots, suggesting improvements. Had way of explaining complex concepts, making them simple without being condescending. Analysts who'd started skeptical were asking him questions by midnight like he was respected professor. Cassandra mostly watched. She'd built this company, but Raymond saw things she'd missed. Or maybe he saw them without emotional attachment, making her defensive about every assumption. To him, this was just model. To her, it was validation of everything she'd sacrificed. When team finally left, Raymond started packing ancient laptop. Same time tomorrow. Same time. Cassandra hesitated. You're good at this. Teaching. Analysts responded to you. Had good teachers once, just passing it on. At Goldman Sachs? He paused. You really did read my whole file. Needed to know who I was trusting with my company's future. And? Do you trust me? Cassandra considered question. Trust. Word she'd spent 12 years avoiding. I trust that you know what you're doing. That's enough. Raymond smiled, didn't reach eyes. That's not trust. That's just recognizing competence. They're not same thing. He left before she could respond. Cassandra sat alone, building silent around her, realized he was right. She'd spent so long conflating trust with stupidity, she'd forgotten what actual trust looked like. Wasn't about competence or contracts. Was about believing someone would act with integrity, even when it cost them something. Raymond had proven he could do that. Gave up millions for integrity. What had she ever given up? Nothing. Just built higher walls and called it strength. Next 2 weeks fell into rhythm. Raymond arrived 8 p.m. every night, worked until 2 or 3 a.m., left without fanfare. Financial model transformed under his scrutiny. Rebuilt entire sections, added scenarios. Cassandra's team never considered, stress-tested assumptions until they broke, then figured how to make them stronger. By end week 2, they had model that was bulletproof. Conservative where needed, aggressive where data supported it, transparent about every risk. But more than model, Cassandra found herself looking forward to conversations. Raymond talked about markets and risk naturally, comfortably, without pretension. He'd lived through financial crisis from inside company that nearly collapsed, seen how bad things could get when smart people made stupid assumptions. That experience couldn't be taught in business school. One night around 11 p.m. during break while system refreshed calculations, Cassandra asked questions she'd been holding back. Why did you really say no to insider trading? Don't tell me it was just principle. Nobody gives up that much money for abstract concept. Raymond, quiet, long moment. Helen and I met in college. She was studying literature, wanted to be teacher. We were broke for years while I got MBA and she finished degree. After I got Goldman job, things got better financially. But Helen hated what money did to people around us. Way everyone suddenly wanted to be our friend. Way conversations at parties became about deals and bonuses instead of ideas and books. He stared at coffee cup. When she got sick, first thing she said, after they told us diagnosis, first thing she said was, "Don't let this make you into someone I don't recognize." She knew there'd be pressure, knew people would offer shortcuts, and she made me promise that whatever happened, I wouldn't compromise who we were, who I was. Cassandra's throat felt tight. But you could have saved her. Maybe. Odds weren't good even with experimental treatment. But even if I could have, what Helen wanted most wasn't more time. Was for me to still be man she married when that time ended. She cared more about that than anything, so I kept promise. Yeah, it cost us everything. But when she died, I could hold her hand and she could look at me and know I'd stayed true. There's no amount of money worth more than that. Cassandra had to look away. She thought about Kyle, about Jenny, about years building empire on foundation of betrayal. What had she promised herself? Never trust again. Never be vulnerable. Win, no matter what it cost. And she'd kept that promise. But what had she gained? Money, power, penthouse she couldn't stand being in. I don't think I'm capable of that kind of love. Capable of loving someone or being loved, either. Both. I was betrayed by people I trusted completely. It broke something in me. And I used that broken piece to build everything I have now. If I let myself be vulnerable again, if I let myself trust someone, I'm terrified whole structure will collapse. Raymond nodded slowly. So you're living in house built on fear. That's exhausting. It's safe. No, it's not. It's just predictable. There's difference. He stood, walked to window. Want to know what I learned from losing Helen? That safety is illusion. Bad things happen to good people. People betray you. Life takes away what you love most. Can't control any of that. Only thing you can control is who you choose to be in response. Do you become harder, colder, more isolated? Or do you stay open, knowing it might hurt again, but also knowing that's only way to actually live? And which one are you? Trying to be second one. For Zoe's sake, if nothing else. But it's hard. Every day, it's hard. They stood there while two people who'd lost different things building different kinds of walls. Then Cassandra's phone buzzed. James with update. Moment broke. They went back to work. But something had shifted. Air in room felt different, less like business arrangement, and more like something Cassandra didn't have name for. Week before crisis hit. Board meeting, routine update. Then Malcolm Finch, conservative board member who'd always resented Cassandra's control, dropped bomb. Before we proceed, I think board deserves to know about unusual consulting arrangement Ms. Hartwell has made. Ice in his voice. Cassandra's blood went cold. I've reviewed security logs. For past 2 weeks, a Mr. Raymond Cole has been accessing our most sensitive financial data late at night. Background check reveals Mr. Cole is currently employed as janitorial staff. I find this deeply concerning. Room exploded. Other board members demanding answers. Preston tried to intervene, but Malcolm cut him off. Furthermore, I've learned Mr. Cole's previous employment at Goldman Sachs ended under circumstances suggesting reliability issues. He was essentially blacklisted from industry. And we've entrusted our entire IPO model to him. I move that we terminate this arrangement immediately and conduct full audit of our financials. Cassandra felt walls closing in. Could deny everything, throw Raymond under bus, protect herself, or could tell truth and risk everything. She looked at Preston, who nodded almost imperceptibly. Do the right thing. She stood. You're correct, Malcolm. Raymond Cole is currently employed in building maintenance. You're also correct that he's been working on our IPO model. What you've conveniently omitted is that Raymond Cole was youngest managing director in Goldman Sachs history, that he saved Sherman Brothers Bank during 2008 crisis, that he spotted fatal error in our model, error that would have resulted in securities fraud charges, in approximately 30 seconds of seeing it. Malcolm's face reddened. He's a janitor. Whatever he was, he's the most brilliant financial mind I've encountered in 15 years on Wall Street. Cassandra interrupted, voice sharp as glass. His career ended because he refused to participate in insider trading scheme. He was offered $50 million. He said no because it would have required compromising his integrity. He was blacklisted for being honest, Malcolm. for refusing to commit crimes that would have made him and his conspirators rich. That's why he mops floors, not because he's incompetent, because he has something most people in this room have never had, a conscience that doesn't come with price tag. This is absurd, Malcolm sputtered. We're about to go public with our reputation online, and you've outsourced due diligence to building maintenance staff. Cassandra leaned forward, hands flat on table. That building maintenance staff has spent 2 weeks rebuilding our model from ground up. He's stress-tested every assumption, identified risks our expensive consultants missed, and created financial projection that's actually conservative enough to be credible. You want to question his credentials, fine, but I stand behind his work completely. Every number, every assumption, every projection. It's the best model we've ever had, and it exists because Raymond Cole happened to be cleaning our conference room at right time and cared enough about accuracy to speak up. Silence. Then Catherine Pierce, institutional investor who'd championed Cassandra from early days, spoke up. I'd like to review this model myself. If it's as solid as you claim, credentials of who built it become less relevant than quality of work. Cassandra pulled up model on main screen, spent next 90 minutes walking through it, answering every challenge, defending every assumption. Catherine asked hard questions. So did 3 other board members. But model held, because Raymond had made it bulletproof. When they finally voted, Malcolm was outvoted 7-4. Model was approved. After meeting ended, Cassandra went straight to 24th floor conference room where Raymond was working. He looked up, read her face immediately. They know. Malcolm Finch decided to make an issue of it. Tried to get you removed from project. Raymond closed laptop. I should go. This is exactly what I didn't want. Attention, drama, my past becoming part of your IPO story. No. Cassandra sat across from him. You're not going anywhere. I defended you in there, told them exactly who you are and what you did and why you ended up here. And the model was approved. We're proceeding. You defended me. He looked stunned. Why? Would have been easier to cut me loose. Because you saved my company. Because the work you've done is exceptional. Because you deserve to be recognized for brilliance, not hidden because of some board member's prejudice. And because you were right about trust and vulnerability and living in a house built on fear. I've spent 12 years building walls to keep people out. Then you walked in and showed me what integrity actually looks like, what strength actually means. Wasn't about to let Malcolm destroy that because he's uncomfortable with unconventional arrangements. Raymond was quiet, long time. Your IPO is going to be complicated now. Press will find out about me. They'll dig into story. It'll become about the janitor instead of about your company's success. Let them, Cassandra said, surprising herself. Maybe it should be about more than just success. Maybe it should be about what success actually costs, what it actually means. You sacrificed everything for principle. I sacrificed everything for protection. Maybe telling both our stories is worth more than clean narrative. Your board won't like it. Some won't. Others will see it as proof we actually value integrity over image. Either way, it's truth, and I'm tired of building my life on anything else. She stood. IPO is in 1 week. Help me finish this. Then you can decide if you want to stay invisible, or if maybe Zoe deserves to see her father recognized for who he really is. He looked at her long moment, then nodded. 1 week. Then we'll see. IPO day arrived. Cassandra stood on trading floor of New York Stock Exchange, ready to ring opening bell. Preston beside her, Raymond back in basement in blue uniform because despite everything, he'd chosen to remain in shadows. This is it, Preston said. Everything you've built for 12 years. Cassandra looked at screens showing pre-market trading. $3.8 billion. largest tech consulting IPO in 5 years. Her name everywhere, her victory complete. But what she kept thinking about was Raymond in that basement, choosing obscurity over recognition, choosing quiet dignity over public redemption, choosing what mattered to him over what world said should matter. And she realized something. Success wasn't ringing this bell. Success wasn't the billions or magazine covers or vindication. Success was having courage to be vulnerable enough to let Raymond Cole into her carefully controlled world. Success was defending him when it would have been easier to sacrifice him. Success was standing here knowing she'd built something meaningful, not just profitable. Bell rang. Applause erupted. Stock opened at projected price, immediately climbed. Everything validated in numbers scrolling across screens. Cassandra smiled for cameras, shook hands, said all right things to press. But her mind was already moving to what came next. After ceremony ended, she found Preston. Second Foundations, Raymond's program for people who've been written off by industry. Let's make it real. Not PR stunt, actually real. Preston grinned. Already drawn up preliminary plans. Been waiting for you to be ready. I'm ready. She pulled out phone, texted Raymond. It's done. IPO successful. Meet me for coffee tomorrow morning. Want to discuss something important. Response came almost immediately. Zoe wants to know if you'd come for dinner instead. Says she makes better spaghetti than any restaurant. Saturday 6 p.m.? Cassandra smiled. Genuine smile that felt strange on face used to careful control. Tell her I'd be honored. And Raymond, thank you for everything. For showing me what actually matters. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, you're welcome. See you Saturday. Saturday evening, Cassandra stood outside modest apartment building in Astoria, holding wine bottle that probably cost more than Raymond's monthly rent, feeling more nervous than she had at ringing opening bell. Door opened. Raymond in jeans and sweater, casual in way she'd never seen him. Come in. Warning. Place is small, and Zoe's been cooking all afternoon, so it smells like garlic and ambition. Inside was tiny but warm, full of life. Books everywhere, photos on walls, smell of something delicious from kitchen. Zoe appeared, 14 and full of fierce intelligence. Miss Hartwell, Dad says you're really important, but I'm not supposed to be intimidated. Cassandra laughed, actually laughed. Please, call me Cassandra, and you should never be intimidated by anyone. Your father certainly isn't. That's because Dad's smarter than everyone else but pretends he isn't, Zoe said matter-of-factly. Come on, dinner's ready. Hope you like spaghetti. It's my specialty, which means it's basically just normal spaghetti, but I made it so it's special. Dinner was loud and warm and nothing like any meal Cassandra had eaten in years. Zoe talked about coding program, about project building to help non-profits track donations. Raymond watched his daughter with obvious pride, occasionally adding gentle corrections or encouragement. Cassandra found herself relaxing, laughing at Zoe's jokes, asking genuine questions about their lives. This was what family looked like, what home felt like, not marble and Italian leather. This, shared meal and easy conversation and love that needed no performance. After dinner, doing dishes together, Raymond said quietly, Thank you for coming. Means a lot to Zoe. Means a lot to me, too. Thank you for inviting me. I needed this more than I realized. She paused. I want to make Second Foundations real, actually hire people like you, people industry has written off. Give them real opportunities, not charity. Will you help me build it? Not as consultant, as partner. Equal partner. Raymond was quiet, washing dish with focused attention. I'm not ready to go back to that world full-time, but I could help design program. Make sure it's real, not just PR. That's all I'm asking. Help me make it real. Help me build something that actually matters. He looked at her, and she saw something in his eyes that might have been hope or possibility. Okay, let's build something that matters. They stood there in tiny kitchen, dishwater going cold, and Cassandra felt something she hadn't felt in 12 years. Connection. Real, genuine, terrifying connection. And instead of running from it, building walls against it, she let herself feel it. Let herself be vulnerable enough to hope this might be beginning of something beyond business, beyond calculation, beyond carefully maintained distance. 6 months later, Second Foundations had hired 18 people industry had discarded. 3 had been promoted to permanent positions. Program was featured in Harvard Business Review as radical experiment in corporate empathy. Press had found out about Raymond, written dozens of stories about Janitor who saved billion-dollar IPE. He'd handled attention with grace, always redirecting focus to importance of giving people second chances. Cassandra had been interviewed countless times, found herself telling truth she'd never told before. About Kyle and Jenny, about 12 years building walls, about learning from unlikely teacher what integrity actually meant. Her penthouse was different now. Lights always on, photos on walls, plans for actual dinner party next month. She'd even asked Driver his name, learned he had 2 daughters, started actually seeing him as person. Small changes, but they felt seismic. Preston said she seemed lighter, more human. She'd stopped correcting reporters who said she was softening. Maybe she was. Maybe that was okay. Standing at window she'd stood at so many lonely nights, watching city lights that didn't feel distant anymore, Cassandra's phone rang. Raymond. Hey, Zoe's science project got selected for state competition. She wants to know if you'll come watch her present. Says you're good luck. I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. How's the penthouse? Less empty. Turns out when you actually let people in, space feels different. Told you? Safety is illusion. Living is risk. She smiled. You were right. About a lot of things. So were you. About second chances. About building something that matters. We're doing good work, Cass. First time he'd called her that. She liked it. We are. See you Tuesday for Second Foundation's board meeting. See you Tuesday. And Cass? I'm glad you didn't let me stay invisible. I'm glad you taught me what visibility actually means. Not being seen, being known. They said goodbye. Cassandra set phone down, looked at reflection in window. Same woman as 6 months ago, but completely different. Still successful, still powerful, but no longer alone, no longer ice, just human, finally learning what success actually meant beyond money and validation and carefully maintained control. She raised her empty hand, no whiskey this time, to Ghost in window. But it wasn't Ghost anymore, just her reflection, and behind it, warm light from penthouse full of life. We did it, she whispered. We actually won. And this time, it felt like truth.